Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today for this online workshop all about 7 steps to writing successful grant applications. And we know whether as business owners, as community group members, not-for-profits, basically any organisation is going to be thinking about where our funding comes from, the grant opportunities that are out there and how we go about them to make sure that money is in our bank account. So I just want to start today's online workshop by saying that most of this content is tailored and aimed towards Australia, as that's where I'm based. However, most of it is of a general nature. So if you are joining us from overseas, I know there's a lot of American and UK followers that I have, the information is still relevant for you in terms of how to write those successful grant applications. So I hope that you do get some valuable insights from what we're sharing today. And if you do have any questions, please pop them into the chat and we will endeavour to answer them. Hello to those who are watching this recording. If you do have any further questions after today, please just send me an email at liz@grantsclub.com.au and I'll be sure to answer your questions as well, or to get in touch to work together. So how many of you today are business owners? Yes, there's a few hands that have gone up. And who is already too busy? Yes, a few more hands have gone up. And who feels like they wear all the hats in your business? Yes, a few more hands go up, sorry. So when it comes to grants, when it comes to small business, we're already too busy. We're all trying to do the same everything, and they're not necessarily in our skill set. So when it comes to grants and funding, we don't know what is required for those applications. Those applications and programs normally have a really short time frame from when they're open to when they close. And when we're already too busy, that can just seem really overwhelming. And so we've already acknowledged that resources and time are already scarce, and adding on something else can just absolutely topple us all over. And often it's really hard to try and put that grant application together all alone. But I also want to ask you the question of, how much free money are you missing out on in grant opportunities? And you might be thinking, well, Liz, I have no idea. This is why we're here today, which is fine. But I just want you to think about, has there been a time in the past when you've simply ran out of time, or the grant application just seemed way too complicated that you just gave up? Or you were trying to do it at midnight, then the computer crashed and you couldn't post it, you couldn't email it, and you were just like, too hard basket. That is okay. And this is why we're here today, because I'm going to help you to be smart about how we get this funding for our business. So I'm Liz of the Grants Club. I'm a business coach and grant writer for small business. What I'm obsessed with is making sure your business has the best opportunity to be successful. You know how there's never enough hours in the day to get those grant applications written, or to sit down and focus on your own business strategy. And it's just something that never gets done, or it just seems way too stressful and way too hard. Well, what I do is help you and your business to be ready when a grant is released, so that you've got the tools and information at your fingertips to be able to present your business in the best possible way. Now, I always start this presentation with a bit of a geeky admission that I actually really do love writing grant applications. And there's probably a few of you in the audience thinking, is she mad? Well, some people would say I am. But I treat grant applications just like a strategy document, going through the process of it's my opportunity to learn about you and your business, you and your organization, to extract that information out of you into that application that we're sending off. So I've done 15 years in corporate, across a number of industries, and I also did a couple of years in government agencies where I oversaw a number of grants programs. And this is really where I got into the world of grants, because prior to this, I just had no idea that these grants even existed. And here in Australia, there are so many grants programs out there. At any given one time, there's normally about 1,500 grants available across Australia. Now, that doesn't mean to say that there are 1,500 grants that your organisation can apply for, but what it does mean is we can be searching those grants to find the ones that are applicable and specific to us, so that we can apply for them. I'm really proud of my success rate. I've got an 85% success rate while I have been in business. And I'm also, the reason for this is because I'm also pretty upfront about the merits of your project. So when a grant program comes out, the government are basically outsourcing that work to you. And so they'll have clearly defined objectives and outcomes that need to be achieved through your projects that you're applying for. And so we need to make sure that we've got that one opportunity to showcase our project, our business, our impact we can have in the best possible light so that we get that big green tick and approval and then money into our bank account to go and do that project. How does that sound? Hands up if you've had a grant application not approved. I'm sure there's people out there that have applied for grants and have had that unsuccessful generic email saying we've oversubscribed, thanks for the interest in it, and they don't provide any feedback. Well, no one is talking about this. Nobody is talking about what we do once we get a rejection. And so that's why we're here today, as I can take you through my proven process that I use with my clients. And a lot of you on this workshop have already reached out to my team to see how we can work together. So at the end of today's session, there will be an opportunity to take action and work with me. Also, there is a bit of content to get through, so please pop any questions in the chat, starting with the letter Q, and I'll make sure I answer them today for you. But grant applications are my thing. I love that there's deadlines. I love that there's that discovery process of extracting that information from you and your organization. I love that I can, see your business from a different perspective and also highlight the things that you might not see because you're in your business. So having that fresh outside look at your business is so important. So allow me to work within my zone of genius so you can continue to work in yours. And this is one of my favorite quotes when it comes to grants. There is nothing more expensive than a missed opportunity. What is the opportunity cost of not taking action, of not being grants ready, or simply not being aware of what grants may be out there for your business or organization? So let's get into the proven process that I just use with my clients on a daily basis, and we're getting results. My guarantee to you at the end of today's workshop, you'll have 7 clear steps to follow when writing grant applications. And as I've said, this is the exact process that I follow with my own clients. Success. What does that mean to you? It can mean different things to different people. Every business is different, every organization is different. But to be successful, it is all in the preparation for the great result. And because success means different things to different people, that journey of getting to that success or towards that success is also going to be different. So when it comes to grant applications, we can get overwhelmed by the amount of information that is given by the grant provider. So when I'm talking about grants here in Australia, I'm normally talking about federal grants, which are national, state government grants, local council grants, and then there's also some other grants that are from private enterprises and other corporate agencies that from time to time give out grants. So we want to gather all the information. What I'm talking about is the guidelines, all the templates that they've given you, all that supporting documentation that is associated with that grant program being released. Nowadays, they seem to be doing a lot of online workshops and information session. So if you can arm yourself with as much information about this grant program as you can, it will make your process easier. And it'll also allow you to work out whether you're going to apply for it or not. So we really do need to get organized at the very start. We need to read the criteria. So what I mean by this is, are you even eligible? And there's 2 levels to this. Are you eligible as an organization? Some grants exclude things like certain types of company structure, or you have to be a not-for-profit, or you have to be a social enterprise, or you have to be in a partnership, or whatever it might be. So we need to make sure that our organization is eligible. And then we also need to make sure that our project that we are proposing is also eligible. And that is so important. I've seen time and time again where people have got halfway through a grant application and they've become stuck, and then they've rung me and gone, Liz, I need help. And I've gone back to this first step of, are we eligible and what's your project? And discovered that they're not even eligible in the first place. So unfortunately, they've completely wasted their time when they're already time poor on something that they just didn't check off. But again, I recognize you don't know what you don't know. And this is exactly why I'm teaching this today. So reading that criteria. Drafting your outline. What is the project that we're actually going to apply for? So more often than not, grant applications and programs are going to give you cash, money. So we need to spend it on something. So we need to work out what is it that we want money for to grow and expand our organization. And at this point, I turn the application form into a Word document. So we either type it up into our own table or we copy and paste it across. The reason why I do this is because grant applications are now normally in fancy digital portals, but they're not so good at saving them. And so we just want to minimize the risk of losing our work. I had someone post on a Facebook group the other night that they were halfway through a grant application. They thought they'd saved it, it hadn't, the system had glitched and they'd lost all their work. So we don't want to do that. And I said, well, we need to do our Word document. She normally does, but this particular time she didn't. So that's why we just need to stick to our process every single time. And the reason why I do this is so that I can share that document with my client directly and we can both be working on that at the same time. So it also allows us to see from the beginning how much information is required and what other supporting documents and things like that that we need. We'll talk more a little bit about that later, but if we know that up front, we can assess right at the very beginning whether we've got enough time to apply and whether it's going to be appropriate and achievable to get that stuff done with the resources we've got or how we're going to do it. Step 2 is all about planning what you're going to do. Now, I turn the grant application process into a separate project as a business project. So we're going to create a numbered checklist of all the components required. Now, this includes the questions that we're going to have to answer, as well as all the supporting documents, all the financial reports, all the other stuff we need to attach. We need to number them off because at some point we're going to have to either find those documents or ask people to give us those documents. So we just, the more organized we are here, the more planned we are about it, the easier it's going to be to go through this process. And we just want to stop that overwhelm. The next step is to bring your team together and have a kickoff meeting. So thinking about who is going to be involved in this. Have you got enough internal resources? Do you have to get an external person? Are you going to outsource it completely, or who's going to do what? And it doesn't have to be me, but we make sure that you find someone that has the skills and knowledge to help you with this process, that knows what they're doing, but has also had success. There are grant writers and then there are grant writers. There are people out there that are happy to write all day, but do they get the results of being approved for those grants? That is the difference. So if you are going to engage with a grant writer, always ask them what their success rate is and ask them how they have the process that they go through to achieve those results. Now, just a word also on this in Australia, and I think the US is the same, there are people out there that want to be paid as part of a percentage of the grant once it's been approved. I don't work like that. A couple of reasons is because once we're going through the grant application process, we're actually creating a really valuable resource of your business. And we're answering questions that we've probably never really answered before or really had to think about. And so once you've done one grant application, we can tweak it for the next one and the next one. And so that's why I work on a consulting per project fee for each grant application rather than a percentage of the grant approved. I don't want to work for free. I work really hard for my clients, and so I just want it to be transparent and for everybody to value the work that's going into this. And back to our planning, our work plan, we also want to plan to submit 1 or 2 days before the deadline. And this is just to create a bit of a buffer because it's already normally quite time constrained. And so we just want to make sure that we don't run out of time. And if there are delays, we've already built in our buffer into our schedule. Again, trying to reduce that stress. Now, this is what I do, and this is quite detailed. So designing the grant application as our own project plan. And this is where we're designing the application and also our whole project of what we're actually going to do. Now, this needs to be really detailed, and this is the key to success. It also keeps everyone on track throughout the entire process to put those deadlines in place, allocation of who's doing what, the interdependencies, and just the timeline of all the different components we need to be able to submit this grant application on time. So we need to ask ourselves, how is this project going to happen? We need to allocate the tasks and actions and what costs are involved. As I've said, we're getting money as part of this grant application more often than not. So we need to work out a budget. So you could be thinking, well, you're a chartered accountant, of course you're going to focus on the money side of things. You'd be right, but it is key. And so many people miss this bit out. So we need to be making sure that our project budget is within the guidelines of the grant application. Are there any funding matching requirements? Are there any minimums? Are there any maximums? All of that stuff. So we need to be planning that at this point. Now, this is where the work is really important, collating those supporting documents. And as I've said before, grant applications are all different. Some will ask for specific supporting documents. Some will say we can attach 5 extra documents and you can choose. Some will say we do not want any extra supporting documents. It's all in the words that you've answered. So you do really need to be making sure you're clear about those guidelines and the criteria and how we're going to fill out the form. So what is required for that grant application? They're all different. It doesn't necessarily align to the value of the grant. I've done $25,000 grants where we had to submit about 40 pages worth of supporting documents and answers and reports and plans and graphs and pictures and everything. And then I've done other grants for $20,000 where we had to answer 4 questions and not even attach a quote. So they all absolutely vary, but we need to be making sure that we're reading these in the guidelines at the very beginning. Now, writing letters of support is one thing that I find a lot of people aren't aware of that they even exist. What I mean by this is your project, you need to think about who does it benefit? Who else does it benefit outside of your organization? So this could be other businesses, other partners, other community groups, a certain group of society. And if there's someone that they are willing to write a letter of support that basically says, please support this project because it's going to have extra benefits and it's going to allow us to do X, Y, Z as well. And attaching that to your grant application is worth its weight in gold. If you work with me, we draft those letters of support to send out to your partners and other businesses and organizations that it might be appropriate for, so that they then can simply put it onto the letterhead, tweak it, put their name on it, sign it, and send it back to us so we can attach it. Getting quotes. Now, this is really, really important. We need to do this as early as possible. And we always need to be requesting at least 2 or 3 quotes because they might not all come back. And most grant applications now require that we have to attach quotes, otherwise we can't submit. So again, this all comes down to building relationships. And can you ring up a supplier? Can you ring up a customer? Can you get a quote quickly for the purposes of the grant? And I talk a lot about being grants ready, and this is one thing you can do in advance, where if you're thinking about a project and you're not sure how much it's going to cost, you could in advance ask for the quote, and then when the grant application comes up like further down the track, you can simply ring that supplier and say, hey, can you just update that quote from last year and put today's date on it to make it easy. The other thing I'll say with quotes is the quotes that we attach to the grant application don't necessarily have to be the quotes and the suppliers you go with if you are successful. So we just need to make sure that it's within a ballpark figure, with that it's for the right piece of equipment. And sometimes there are restrictions or guidelines around where you can get your supply from. So just making sure that you're checking that as well. Some might specify that everything has to be sourced from your state or even your local area. Financial reports, it is really important to have your financials up to date, whether you use Xero, QuickBooks, it doesn't matter, but for a couple of reasons. One, sometimes you have to attach the financial reports to the grant application. So generally, as a rule in Australia, any grant greater than $50,000 requires that financial report to be attached at the time that you apply. And also some grants have what we call a matching requirement. So you might get 50% of the project from the grant and have to pay the other 50% yourself. And we need to assess as a business or organisation whether we can fund that. And sometimes we also need to provide proof of that as well. So really, really important to get your financial reports up to date. If you do have Xero and you're not up to date or not set up properly, please get in touch, because I do offer those sessions as well. And at this point, it's just getting shit done. It's absolutely powering through it, going back to your checklist, being really clear about what we do and don't need and where we're going to get it from, setting those deadlines to make sure that we are on track for meeting the submission date as well. Now up to step 5, and this is the most important step, starting to write the draft application. And the reason why it is step 5 is because we need to do all that pre-work, get all those supporting documents so that I can have one really good go at drafting the application, making sure that everything is consistent, everything's been included, and especially around the budget and the quotes, that we can make sure we focus on the right stuff, because quite often we will have very limited words or character limits for each of the sections. And so we need to get really smart about it. So again, we're going to go back to the guidelines and read through the key criteria to address and making sure we understand where those weightings are for the assessments as well. So quite often they'll give general weightings, and there might be, say, 10 questions and each one's worth 10%. But remember, they've also asked for supporting documents as well. So sometimes it can be a little bit confusing. But I don't sort of focus too much on the weightings in terms of, if something's less weighting, we're still going to give it a good shot and be really comprehensive, using simple language of how we're going to answer it, making sure that we answer the question that is being asked. And the best way to do that is to basically rewrite the question at the start of your answer. So if the question is, what is this project planning to do? Your response would start something like, this project is to purchase a piece of equipment that will improve our efficiencies by XYZ, full stop. I've seen time and time again, businesses or organizations forget to answer the most simplest of questions. They've just gone into what's it going to do, what's it going to achieve, without saying, what is it we're actually spending the money on and why are we asking and requesting for this grant? Checking the word or character limits, as I've said, they're normally pretty limited. And nowadays the portals are getting pretty smart. If we copy and paste from our Word document and it's 200 words and we've got 220, it'll just chop it off at the point of 200 words. So I'm just got to double check that. So again, using your Word document, highlighting the section, go to word count, where are we at, and monitor that way. Next step is how we can showcase our project, our business in the best possible light. We need to remember here that we don't know who the panelists are. We don't know who's going to be assessing your application. We also don't know who else is applying. We don't know what the total funding pool is. There are so many unknowns and we cannot make assumptions. The only assumption we can make is that nobody knows anything about us. Nothing about our business, nothing about us, nothing about our organization, and nothing about our project. So we need to be making sure we're using simple, basic language and going back to the start and being really descriptive about what we're trying to do. And at this point, we're also going to be adding in our why and our story. So we're going to be writing in a persuasive way, not a desperate way saying, please, please, can you approve this? But highlighting the benefits, highlighting the impact, highlighting how your project is absolutely going to achieve the outcomes that are outlined by this grant program. We're also going to be making sure we're adding in the why. Why is this project the best with the most impact? And again, linking it back to those objectives that are clearly outlined at the start of the guidelines. Remember, this is a competitive process. There are other people out there that are applying for the same grant as you, and we need to absolutely showcase our project and ourselves. We also need to make sure that we include the benefits to the targeted audience. So again, going back to those objectives, why are they doing this grant program in the very beginning? And there we go. We're up to our last step. Now, I always get someone else to review and read the application. So if I'm working with clients, they review it. But also this is really good to make sure that we're checking that it's factually correct, that they are agreeing to what we're writing. At the end of the day, the grant application is in the business name, not mine. But also making sure that we're double checking for grammar, that it makes sense, that we haven't left anything out, the word counts, and just making sure that they can understand the simple language. And sometimes it's even worth getting someone who knows nothing about the business or nothing about the project to read through it to see if they can report back the main points of it and making sure that those main points are getting across. Pressing submit on your application. Now, there are so many unknowns when it comes to the assessment part of the grant applications, but we do want to be getting in as early as we possibly can to do a comprehensive grant application. We definitely don't want to be submitting it 5 minutes before it's due or the cutoff. Now with all the technology, we can't email it. We don't want our computer to crash. We've got no second chance. So if something closes at midnight, we want to try and submit either the day before or at least in business hours. So that if something does happen, one, we've got a few more hours to make it happen, but also we could potentially, and this isn't always available, to contact someone to say that we are having issues with our submission. And I get nervous still about pressing submit. I'll have some clients that will review and press submit themselves. Others will review and then say, no, Liz, you can submit it. So either way, whatever works for you. But it's also really important at this point to be celebrating and reflecting on the process that we've just gone through. Let's not underestimate the work that does go into the grant applications, but I will assure you that it does get easier the more you do. The first one is the hardest, but also working out, what did we learn from the process? What did we learn about our business? How did it challenge us? What other projects has it instigated, or what other growth plans can we put into our business? So many opportunities can be created through this process, because as I said at the start, doing a grant application is really working through your strategy and your growth plans. So there we have it, the 7 steps to writing successful grant applications. If you can just pop into the chat what your biggest takeaway was from today. I'm sure there was a few golden nuggets or a few aha moments in there that from what I've shared with you. As you can see, I'm pretty passionate about grants. It is my belief that if there are grants to apply for, we need to do our best to make those applications, and I'm here to help you through that process. So if you would share with me your biggest takeaway, and also if you have any questions at this point, please just pop them into the chat as well, and I will answer them. Yes, so that's right. There is a lot that goes into the planning, and there's also a lot of work that goes in before we even start writing. I see it time and time again with so many people thinking, oh, I'll just start writing. And then they get halfway through, they get distracted, they haven't planned it out. Then they come back to it the day before it's due and they realize they have to get external quotes, they need to get their letters of support, and they simply run out of time, and it's just not physically possible to get it done. Thank you, everyone saying golden information. Is there any software you use for project management? I don't necessarily focus on the project management side of it, but in terms of planning out the grant application as a project, you can just simply use Microsoft Project or an Excel spreadsheet. It depends on the complexity of the grant application, because some of them might be, not that difficult. Some grants I've applied for are just purchasing like one piece of equipment. Others, there's a whole series of 2 years of programs and work. So it really does depend on your project. Yes, and making sure that we write in a persuasive way. So a lot of people struggle to talk about themselves, and they struggle to write about their own successes and what they've achieved. And that's why it can also be good working with someone external to your business to help extract that golden information from your business and put it into your grant application. So here are some of my clients who have been successful in getting grants. I work with a wide range of small businesses, not-for-profits, and community organisations across Australia. To me, it doesn't matter what business or industry you're in, and it also doesn't matter what grant you're applying for. I carry out the same process, and it doesn't actually matter. So my question to you today is, what is the difference between these businesses receiving grants and your business? You might know that you're not even looking for grants. You might be thinking, well, I don't think we're eligible. So you might not understand what types of grants you could even be looking for. So I just want you to think about that. And here's some testimonials from some clients who were successful in getting grants. You can see here they range from 59,000 to 27,000, and one there for 107,000. That absolutely supercharged their business. They accelerated their growth. They went from their kitchen makers. They went from having a wait list of about 6 months to be able to bring that forward to about a month. And now they're at capacity again. They've just bought another piece of equipment, and they're just absolutely going gangbusters. Ben and Jesse, that grant allowed them to go from a side hustle to a full-time business for Ben. And Kim and Matt have a not-for-profit Rethink Recycling Co-op, which is very topical in Australia at the moment and around the world. But that $59,000 grant allowed them to create an educational trailer that they go around schools teaching about recycling, and they've got a lids recycling program as well. So you can see the vast difference in the projects that are out there and the type of grant programs that are out there as well. So now I'm going to show you how I help you and your business to expand and grow with business grants. So in Australia, there's been a whole host of grants out there recently. Right now, August 2023, we're a couple of years out of COVID, and the governments are really pulling back on grants. So at the moment, there aren't that many grants out there, but this is why we need to get creative. We need to be thinking about how can we create our own opportunities, how can we be proactive, and how can we be ready to apply for the grants when they do come out. As you can see, there's a whole host of different grants that have been out in the past. They are all competitive processes. So we never necessarily know what the total funding pool will be. So there might be a grant that you can apply for $5,000. We don't know whether there's 20 going to be given out, whether there's going to be 10, or whether there's going to be 500. And this is why we absolutely need to give it our absolute best in our application, because that's the only chance we get. If you think of it like a job application, your resume, your cover letter, exactly the same thing. And they probably give it 5 seconds. No, they should read through it and give it a bit more time. But, you know, it is our one chance. So if you do have any more questions, there's a couple on the chat that I'll answer in a moment. Feel free to ask them now. But here's some common questions that I get asked quite frequently. So I thought I would just front end this and get these out of the way as well. So can you help me with writing grant applications? Absolutely. As I said before, it's on a fee basis, consulting fee basis per project, and we determine whether you're eligible or not, and then I will provide a quote for that service, depending on the complexity and what is involved in each grant application. I don't have a business plan. Can you write one for me? Yes, we can absolutely help you get grants ready. And having a business plan really, really is important. I think they have got a bit of a bad rap over the last sort of 5 to 10 years, but I think if you don't have a business plan with some goals and some clear direction of how you're going to achieve those goals, we can just flounder and become really unstuck and inefficient in our business. My success rate is 85%, which I'm really proud of. And I work hard for my clients to make sure that we are putting forward the best applications and getting those results. And how do I know what I need a grant for? Well, this is a bit of a tricky one. And this is why I say to people, just book in a call, jump on a call with me. We can have a chat. I can learn in a brief amount of time about your business, what industry you're in, what the projects that you're doing, what your growth plans are, what areas you're in. And then we can work out where you could be looking for those grants. A couple of other questions. What are my charges based on? I basically estimate how long it's going to take me, and I will base it on that and provide a quote on a per application process. So what's next? I know that some of you have reached out about working together, and I know that you've already learned a lot today. And I know that you'd eventually get there when it comes to business grants and growing your business, but for a lot of you, we're wanting to do this ASAP. So this is why I have developed a few different ways to work with me. And as I've said, the best thing to do is to jump on to the link that's going to be in the chat in a moment. Eric's going to put that in, and book in a 20-minute call with me, because I could talk about grants all day, but also what I want to learn about is your business and what kind of grants could be suitable for your business and the other opportunities to grow and expand through other funding options as well. In terms of Australia, different states have different grant programs. And I think the question was about Victoria and South Australia. So they have their own programs. They do look and see what other states are doing, but we do need to be treating and specifically looking at where you are located, and also what type of industry you're in as well. So if you're not sure, if you want to have a chat and work out where you are at with grants, how they can help your business, please do book in a chat with me using that link. I'd love to chat. And at the moment, I'm still offering my strategy session. So this is a very special deal for today only. Is a 2-hour, $495 strategy session with me over Zoom. And if you're interested in this, please send me an email to liz@grantsclub.com.au. In this session, it is essentially a brainstorming session. It is to further develop your grants plan, and also to determine what you need to get done next to become grants ready. And I absolutely love these sessions because we go really in depth really quickly, and we work out what's going to be the most purposeful action you can take next. And at the end of it, you'll end up with a clear action plan of how you can become grants ready and how you can utilize the opportunities to grow and expand your business or organization. So if you are interested in that, just please, it is a special deal for today, 2-hour session over Zoom, $495 strategy session. Email me, say that you're interested, and I will send you the link to book in. There is limited capacity of these sessions, but I do love them and I do offer them. It is the best way to get it really sorted, especially if you've got a few ideas or different growth projects, or you've had some success with grants and you don't know what to do next. These sessions are for you. Or I have my Grants Club VIP membership. So this is where you can effectively outsource your grant searching to us so that you can focus on what you need to get done in your business. So we do all the hard work, search for the grants for you. We then match the grants that are going to help you grow and expand. As we are here today, we're sharing our proven process, and we've got masterclasses that we delve into that in even greater detail. You get special discounts to get your grant applications written by me, and we can assist you in your business to become grants ready. So over a 12-month period, there are scheduled events with quarterly masterclasses. There's other signature programs offered exclusively to members. There's a private Facebook group where we will learn and ask questions from me and others. And you will get 4 quarterly strategy calls to keep you on track to make sure that we're doing the right stuff in the business. And so Erica's going to put the link in for the grants membership to my website, but you can get started today for just $3,000 for the 12 months or monthly payments of $300. So there's the link there to head to our website, check out the VIP membership, and that will absolutely get you started when it comes to grants. And knowing that someone is looking out for you, someone that is constantly searching for grants for you, so that you're in the know really early on. And we already are aware that there's a short amount of time for the grant application period. So if you find out about a grant late, that can ruin your chances of even having a chance of applying. You're all invited to join my exclusive free Facebook group as well, where like-minded businesses can connect in my Grants Club community on Facebook. The link is there in the chat if you want to join. I'd love to see you in there. I would love to work with every single one of you to help you on your way to getting sorted with a strategy of working out how grants are going to help you, whether that be the VIP membership, whether it be the strategy sessions, whether it be writing grant applications. If you have found a grant that you want help with, please do get in touch. We will write it with you. And back to my favorite quote, nothing is more expensive than a missed opportunity. And I appreciate everybody taking the time out of their day to spend it with me, to learn these skills and work through how these are going to be implemented into your business for that growth and success. So a huge thank you for joining us today. Please do keep in touch. If you want to email me, there's my email address. Check out our website and be sure to follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and our YouTube channel. The recording will be sent out later this afternoon to everybody so you can watch it again. And I wish you every success with your funding and grants in your business or organization. So thank you so much, and I will see you soon.